This is Weird Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. Of course, I just kind of want to get right into it. So you already know that you can hit a Wayward in reference to monthly lessons. However, you already know that Wayward does the lessons that I work one-on-one with individuals very closely, that at times will incorporate work but separate costs. Okay, so understand what that is. And you already know that Wayward is about that revenge, redemption, responsibility, and that motherfucking spell work, because art is occultism. Occultism is a motherfucking art. But in this universal soul of this video, I just want to say that I am an indie occultist and I do indie work. I do indie underground occultism, not this shit that's going on. And I'm going to get to something, right? In this universal soul, there's an action word of the day. So just put on your boards the action word, right? The action word of the day is maladaptive. That word, maladaptive, is the action word, the spell word, the word that makes things move, right? So I'm just going down these energies because I'm trying to understand, as Black people, as America, what's happening. Let's talk about it. In this universal soul, they're playing with Black people and they played in our faces. They're playing in our faces as Americans. They're playing in our pockets. They're causing famine in our pockets. They're using spell work and spells. Do you understand technically what I'm doing? They considered me a psychopath and a nut. They will put me under the frequencies of being overly emotional. She's just maladaptive. She can't cope with the world and she used certain frequencies and she's not in line. She's in air and she needs to get back on earth. She has different emotions. She has psychological issues, certain harm traumas that causes paranoia and anxiety that makes her believe she's a witch. So what we're going to do is take away the bad things in her life, realign her, put her on medicine, matter of fact, diagnose her and say she's autistic. And let's pretend none of that is happening. None of that is happening. Okay? So when these Black people run around here and say that they have been passed up on promotions, it's not because they're Black. They're just inadequate. Meanwhile, these are the same Black people who have their bachelor's, master's, PhDs, who carried the whole team, and they'll give it to a newcomer. Or more or less have that Black person train another person to take their position. They've been on a job for 40 years and have never got out of the same position, been promised so many times, sometimes the only Black person, but that's not true. You're just in your emotions. She's just acting maladaptive. Okay? Let's look at some things in this universal soul, how they playing in our fucking faces, right? I told you back then, when I seen that movie Harley Quinn, and in the movie Harley Quinn, I believe it was 2019, 2020 when it came out. And it had a very much Congo energy and a Congo feel to it. You could see it all in the movie. Right then and there, they was throwing spell work at us, because in the movie, there was a scene with Harley Quinn where she was battling the men, white men, and so on. When it came up to the Black man in this particular scene, she cut him down. And I told you guys back then, Black men are going down. They're focused. There's going to be a focus on them, right? But because of that, they'll say, I don't know what I'm talking about, Because I'm maladaptive. I'm bringing in my emotions that causes me to have a psychosis, to be paranoid. As in their research, they researched it supposedly in children, but we're just going to talk about the universal soul, right? So anytime that I'm talking, it is because I'm crazy and I'm talking out of my emotions, not speaking in an energy. That's why you have people who say she's ranting. You will get that out of a lot of fire and air language, especially fire energy. They say, oh, she's ranting. She just jumping place to place. No, that's called psychological warfare. In your world, you call it gaslighting. But in reality, that type of energy is manipulative. So when you type in the word manipulative and you understand all of the energies connected to manipulative, that's gaslighting. They are manipulating the system and devaluing your trauma, your victimization, not a victim, but victimization of you being a human being and going through a process. So they'll say that shit didn't happen. You're just crazy. But a lot of it we understood from white people, but there's another mutants that has came into the chat and they're playing a lot of games with our mental. But it's really them who have the issue, who are autistic and who are psychopaths and maniacs. Reverse psychology, right? That's why they kicked black people out of Harvard and lying, talking about DEI. So we need to start to research and investigate certain spell works that they're playing in our face with. When I go back to Harley Quinn, that energy emasculated black men. The whole energy was to and been to emasculate black men. There's another entity who sat in the trenches of the Colosseum and watched how to emasculate the black man and to attack the black woman. So they understood very well, if you remove the protection of the black man, the black woman is fair game. Haven't this always been the game? If you attack the black woman and take her power, the black community will crash. Let's talk about the spell work. Because again, right now, I'm crazy. Again, I'm maladaptive. So therefore, let's go back to George Floyd and Eric Garner. So we understand George Floyd and Eric Garner was part of the conscious energy and ranch cult. Eric Garner, like many others, was under Dr. York. But let's unravel these religions, right? So in front of our eyes, they emasculate these men and then turn around in front of the whole world talking about, I can't breathe, riled up people's emotions and racial issues in the universal soul, and then say, you're tripping. You're just a maladaptive. You just need some medicine. You just need behavioral therapy. You need cognitive therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy. Let's put you on medicine, realign you. You might be autistic. That didn't happen. You just think it happened. Racial things and murders don't happen. It's just in your head. Right? So they did all of this to play games with us. Then they came out with the eunuch and homosexual movement. So then with black men, they went and enforced Malik Yoba to tell his business. We didn't give a fuck if he fucked eunuchs. He could have kept that to himself. But then they created a new movement from that. It just did a domino effect. So then not only did they use Malik Yoba, but then they went and used crazy ass Nature Boy. So he came out with his eunuchs and then had a whole cult full of eunuchs. I don't give a fuck. And talk about this is the queen. Who in the fuck is sponsoring this shit, right? So then as you go down, then it became a movement of masculinity issues. Hypersexual issues, right? They start saying black men are misogynistic. They said black men were too masculine. For whom? The eunuchs? For homosexuals? For whom? So then they introduce all these energies, they put it forth and say, go fuck eunuchs. Because somehow the biological woman, the black woman, now we don't want a misogynistic masculine man? I want a masculine man. But misogynistic has nothing to do with our men. It was connected to white men and their behaviors and their process. And so the eunuchs and homosexuals, not gay men, came in with their shit that had nothing to do with the biological woman. Then they start confusing the biological woman with a eunuch. A eunuch is not a woman, is not a female, is not a her. It's a eunuch. And you guys will say, well, that's a human being. That's a eunuch. Dick or no dick, it's a eunuch. Because it is having dissociative disorder. Now that is maladaptive. That trickles down into a whole other energy. The people who sponsored it is maladaptive because they're in their emotions, because they're haters and jealousy, right? So as you start to go down, you will start to see the deterioration of black people even more. Then they use cults. It's this cult shit. Because we're so visual. They censored your voice, but that was paid for. That's why I brought you guys back to the pandemic. I said, watch the pandemic. And who were the people in front talking? Indians. I don't care where these Indians come from. I don't care if they're Pakistani. I don't give a fuck. Indians. And I'll be even more ignorant. I will say yoga. Because in my church, they said to stay away from yoga and Eastern religions. So now let's be real and talk about it. Okay? They built these cults with multiple practices underneath it, pushed that shit out in the universe, created a mentality to siphon energy from the black woman. her money, wealth, income, prosperity, and her spirituality. Right? I started to look at something very interesting. And I was looking at gangs. I said gangs are homosexuals. I don't give a fuck if they Crip, Bloods, whatever. Gangs are homosexuals. Which leads into the ballroom, because the ballroom is a gang. Right? And they're just intertwining all this. Who gives a fuck about people being offended? Look at it for what it is. Because there's a whole bunch of sexuality going on in them gangs. And started in the gangs. Whole lot of shit, right? I had someone hit me up. And this person is from out of Detroit. He's a Tubi person out of, what is it? The show called The Dirty D. And this other show called, what is it? Cons and Cougars. And the funny thing is that we were talking about the religion and the summoning and the dark natures. And my question to him was what is the aggression? What is the aggression and the frequencies of the men and women in these shows or on the shows? And the funny thing is, this will brought me back to Harley Quinn. And when I'll go back to Harley Quinn, I have to look at the directors and the producers, because of Harley Quinn is a person named Kathy Yan, who's a director. And currently she's 39 years old. So how old was she then? And what type of stereotypical spell work was she pulling, and that she used Congo spell work to do it? Because Chinese know a lot of energy. I call it Chinese voodoo, but let's call it what it is. Chinese Obeah. Indian Obeah. That they're practicing on us, right? Because they go and they learn the culture, but it's an African culture. Okay? But here's the thing. As you go down and the mixtures of religion and the game that they played, from mixing Satanism with Ifa, with yoga, with Islam, with Masonic energies, summoning into sacrifice. And I'm not going to get into what the fuck he was talking about, the sacrifices and the summoning. And the aggression behind it. And the masculinity. Do you understand that's part of the reason why YSL went down? Because they were recording their stuff and people knew what they were doing. And then you got to break down, but what else is going on, right? Because the Spirit says here, on this land, we are not supposed to be praising false idols and false religions on this land. As American Black people, we're supposed to be doing American works. We are not supposed to be doing Eastern philosophies. Even though they told you as African, but your ass is born here. So that means you should be doing more hoodoo, whatever you want to call it, but it's spell work, right? But they didn't learn that. You guys want to call on an Obatala, but then over here, when you have American type of energy of getting just a fucking white candle and a fucking shoe. Your fucking grandfather has ulcers on his feet or diabetes, no circulation, and you don't know about getting his fucking shoe, putting it next to some work? That's what the fuck we supposed to be doing out here. Not all of us, but we all have different energies because we come from different tribes. And different frequencies and different foundations and different backgrounds. They lied to you and told you that you don't have a culture here, but the whole world copies your culture. In the UK, I'm hearing about the Middle East being rich as a motherfucker, driving Bentleys and fucking Rolls Royces, playing rap music from America. So everybody around the world keeps siphoning our energy. And we are not even equipped anymore to protect ourselves. We are not equipped. But when we speak out about it, they'll say, you are maladaptive, right? The action word of the day. So I'm just roaming and looking at all the spell works. I'm looking at how black people steal identities. Like Lil Woody. I'm like, why did he steal that gang member from Los Angeles name? They out here stealing dead people's names. They're gang names and shit, right? But then you still wonder what the fuck is really going on here. You have a new cult. They didn't move from freaking move from Vegas into Texas, pimping and pandering. That's another cult. What the fuck is going on? Right? And they want to say we're tripping, but I'm looking at the shit right in front of me, right? Gentrification kills the culture, the neighborhood, and religions. Is that part. When they gentrified, it killed the church. It killed religion. It killed the work. It did, plain and simple. For them just to restructure it, right? It's very interesting how these entities and mutants of people want to take your religion from you, take your practices from you, restructure the practice to put you under their shit, and then come in with their sponsors and their money and tear down communities so you could be under their shit. But they said that we are maladaptive because they feel we're not doing the right thing. So they infiltrate the structure of what we do to restructure what we do so we can be under psychological warfare and manipulated. And then pay the entertainment world to be part of the scope. Kill off the real motherfuckers who are in the conscious community. You know, some of them have a stroke. Some of them die in a hotel. Some of them starve themselves because they don't eat. Some of them get their money taken away in jail. Some of them just die off. Some of them are put in convalescent homes. Nobody think about them no fucking more. Some of them are put under the jail. And then recreate their shit. Get bought out by sponsors to create an agenda, keep roaming around different social medias talking about, well, black women don't support the black man, and the white woman is, and the da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Still preaching the same old bullshit, divine feminine, all that bull, but we ain't getting down to the real tutor. We want to have retreats. We want to go to Eastern energies. We want to make elixirs. We want to make pills. Then you want to confuse us again. Go from that, then go into Ifa, to go into that, to go into love and light, to go into vegan, to go into vegetarian. Now we eat meat. Then Impossible Burger. We get rid of that. Then we have all these issues. Then now we're Muslim. What? We have gatekeepers, this and that. Women out here scared as fuck of Akon? Do you know, I keep telling you, women out here be talking about his ass. How evil and Spellwork and all of them. What the fuck they do. Then you wondering why that bullshit happened in Africa. That whole shit got shut down because you niggas know damn well, the ignorant ones, and I called you niggas because you know damn well that shit was never going to be built. Because the real finance was to turn Africa into the New Jack City. Crank, kush, crystal meth, cocaine, the crack, prostitution, gangs, no tribes anymore, gangs, shooting, killing, decapitating, a war zone. Then you're wondering why they have certain countries as the no visit list. So I don't know if y'all can hear it as a fan because it's hot. Right? Because they don't want you to see the real trafficking going on in those sweatshops. They don't want you to see the New Delhi. They don't want you to see the real fast fashion being dumped in different parts of the beautiful parts of Africa. Because you got some fucking haters from another country coming over fucking up the continent. And now America is part of it. And now they're over here with their New Delhi behavior. I'm not saying who it is. I'm just talking, right? I'm being ignorant, right? I'm being maladaptive. These new neo-black people out here. So as I really started to walk down the energies, I said to myself, they played the fuck out of us. But I have been telling you people, stop fucking with those crystals. Because the crystals were used to siphon energy. It's like kryptonite. Emeralds and stones are different from downright crystals, and you niggas went overboard with it. And I told you, I said that crystal energy is siphoning us and is putting something in effect, especially if it's in the universal soul of social media. Now it's coming out. That was all spellwork all along. They have people out here doing cybersonic work, sonic work, doing alchemy sonic. Basically siphoning your energies, astral dragons, and have different demons underneath it. Okay? They playing in your fucking face. Then you wonder why I'm shadow banned. All these energies come into play. And they've created books and energies behind it. And you niggas run around here wearing crystal balls, fucking around, thinking you love and light. And it was just a game all along. You guys went and got involved with yoga and all this vegan shit. Then you became a portal. You became a host. And you didn't realize it was game all along. Then after you went from being vegan and loving light and wearing crystals, then they start feeding you slave food, slop food, oxtails, all that shit, grits, shrimp and grits, shrimp and grits, all of that. It was a game. It was a game of spiritual warfare. And because you people denounced the word to understand the script, plain and simple, right? Because within this energy, These people created AI. They created the religion of AI. It's so bad out here that they're making fake black people under AI. And my question is, this new influencer takeover that's fake as fuck, that is created by a certain group of people, AI, ChatGPT, whatever you want to call it, is creating stereotypical frequencies that's an untruth about us, or they studied us. The whole pandemic and TikToks and social media was them to study us and then replicate us and then come in as imposters and then create scenes as if it is a real black young lady, black guy, and so on. Do you know how dangerous that is? Do you understand that literally a person can create a whole scene on social media? I seen something, I said, that's AI. So a black couple, young people, go into this white neighborhood and start junking the neighborhood, right? Basically, they're sitting in their car, they minding their business, and the door is open and a white man come recording to about, oh, you're in our neighborhood. That was AI. I don't believe nothing. All of that shit, that propaganda, the mother beating her child, is propaganda. You don't even know if that's real. You don't know if those reports are real because they have gotten real cute with this AI ChatGPT bullshit. Okay? So we have to be extra careful of what the fuck we're looking at. But because I'm speaking this way, they'll say, I'm what? What is the action word of the day? Maladaptive. So anyway, as I'm looking at all of this and the seriousness of it, I said, so you telling me Sukahana sucking on that guy's dick could have been an AI? Are you telling me that R. Kelly shit, him peeing on a bitch, could have been AI? Are you telling me Kanika Jenkins, that whole story, could have been AI? Yeah, and why are you busting my room like that? I'm doing a video.
Your video doesn't stop.
Okay, so anyway, my apologies because I had to get off for a minute. Anyway, so when I go back to Kanika Jenkins, and when you listen and look at the whole energy, you're not going to tell me that's a motherfucking AI. You're not going to tell me shit. I don't give a fuck what they saying. Something is up. Are you telling me that? Are you telling me that story with Andrew Gillum? Remember when he got caught the fuck up? That Florida dude that was going to be the governor? They said that was Obama. They said even though he's gay as a flower bee, they said that was Obama. Was Trump really at Pope Francis' funeral? Was that inauguration real? Was that an AI of him getting shot? Has this been AI all along? Now, do you see how I'm questioning what the fuck I've been looking at? Do you know if I sit down with a psychologist, they'll say that I'm psychotic and then diagnose me and say that I need some kind of behavioral help? Do you know if I sat down with a with a psychologist and he is an Indian, he would say I'm crazy? Because Indians, and I'm being ignorant, but you know who I'm talking about because I don't feel like saying east, south, west, or north. I'm saying Indians. Indians cause you to question your whole life because they believe in persuasion. I seen this shit at a competition where the person won fair and square against the Indian. The Indian went back up to the refs and the scorekeeper to try to persuade them to either start the competition over again, or to not remit, but delete the numbers and start over. There's always a question. But if you don't stand on nothing, you'll believe it. And that is why black people, you better start suing them for malpractice. Because you're going to get more issues happening with you, and them doubting what you're saying. You're saying this now, watch. Malpractice suit, malpractice class action suit. I'm telling you, it's coming. Because it leads into this whole maladaptive McDonald's murder. They're telling us this young lady named Afeni Badu Muhammad, so they playing in your face all the fuck ready. I'm being maladaptive because I'm insulted as an occultist. You playing in my face, right? Let's talk, because I'm being emotional. I have to get down because I'm going to need therapy. Okay, so was this an AI? Was this filters? What the fuck were we looking at? They had different filters and wigs portraying this entity as a hair-hatted hooligan who's ghetto. Somebody's then sat up and played in our face. They gave her red hair, orange red hair, purple hair, blue hair, green hair, Snuffleupagus, Ronald McDonald, Birdie, Hamburglar, tricked us, turned around, now it's the fucking Joker. I said, if I didn't fucking know better, I would think those are all the fucking McDonald's characters from the day it fucking opened. Then they're playing in our face, telling us that she stabbed her co-worker due to issues in the workplace. But in reality, they're trying to say that black woman was overly emotional. And then let's play even more games. What's even more games is to remove the workforce. But then they want to say to us, not only are they're saying that we're discriminatory and in the job world, we're this, we're that, but look at them. They kill their own people. But then you go down the number system. I was looking at that hoodie, right? I was telling my spiritual constituents, because they think I'm crazy and shit, and I must be talking to Casper the Friendly Ghost. I was talking to my spiritual constituents, right? And I said, yeah, she had on this hoodie that was cute, because that's the way I talk to my spiritual constituents. And she said, hold on. Thank goodness I have smart ones. She said that hoodie looked like it was from the hair, not the hair shops, whatever they call it, the beauty supply places. I said, huh? She said, yeah. You know how they used to have backwoods and all that stuff, and those. I looked at that shit. I said, I should have known that McDonald's didn't come up like that. She had on this cute hoodie that had McDonald's. It was playing this demonic music like she was in the back of McDonald's. But see what I'm talking about? Do you notice they don't have any camera footage? They don't have camera footage of her walking in, leaving out. They never showed us any camera footage, did they? Don't worry, they're going to come up with an AI. So then, she did it on July 10th, the high point of the alleged moon, which is supposed to have been allegedly in Capricorn, Cancer, whatever you laymen are talking about. Then, when we look at the golden arches, the M, the golden arch, 33, female energy, Donna, Donald Trump, Donald, world ruler, great chief, Irish Scottish energy, hell, devil, flames, scarlet. Okay? They just playing in our faces with these various codes, right? Then the ass whooper was the Afeni Shakur, Erykah Badu. Then I went to the left, Elijah Muhammad. So when I tell you these people do horoscopes, natal charts, and birth charts, I tell you they do. Okay? All they doing is playing in our faces. That's why with the conscious community, the conscious community need to be sued up out they fucking assholes for keep pushing that in the culture of black people, right? Because all everybody been practicing is the energies of Eastern cultures. You kept saying Africa, but it goes east. Because these are different sectors of the religions, right? So then as I'm looking at it, I said, hold on. So she's arrested on 710, the high point. The residue of the ovulation of the frequencies is on 711. Then she gets arraigned on 711, but she still has on a wig. But that's not the wig and the hair that she had on when she was originally arrested. Then when you looking at her, I said she looked like those little things that used to be in McDonald's. She looked like a McDonald's character. Stop playing in our faces right now. Furthermore, if you're in jail and she not going anywhere anytime soon, why does she still have on that wig? So then right there, they playing in our faces again with stereotypical frequencies. And you already know that Afeni Shakur had issues. You already understand Erykah Badu. We're still wondering, did they just get her from the fucking asylum? But we can see that all three, Afeni Shakur, Erykah Badu, in addition to Elijah Muhammad, they have an extremist, conscious energy. So they even trying to connect her being overly woke, and due to her being overly woke is the cause of her killing her own people, the woman who's 39 years old with 6 kids. So that right there is stereotypical. Everything about that is stereotypical, playing on one's emotions, and they playing in your motherfucking face with this spell work. Then I got suspicious. Then I said, Muhammad, hold on. Who's her daddy? Which one is she from? Who is she under? Because then I went back and I started looking at, and then this is the other thing that got me. Then they gave her this $25 million bail, cash bail, and then says she's a habitual offender. Hold on. If you work at McDonald's, I thought you had to get a background check because you may be working around money. Check me, I don't know. But I just know a couple of people who worked in fast food who did have to get a background check, right? So therefore, in her background check, it will come up that she has crimes or felonies or misdemeanors. So therefore, what type of games are they playing with us right here? And then to go back to the woman that they killed, the Jennifer person, who's 39, I see the numbers all here. And then I go back to the M with it being McDonald's, with M being the energies of mother and frequencies, and 3 being a feminine nature. This woman allegedly killed a mother of 6. They playing in our faces. I'm being maladaptive. Then the other part of it is you already know what they think about cancers. We're bipolar, schizophrenic, we're emotional, we're in our feelings, we are reactive, we fight people, we harm people, then we cry, then we're sad, then after we cry and sad, then we come back with a knife and we stab the fuck out of you. Then after that, we get back into ourselves, act like ain't shit happened. That's all the above. We are manipulative, we're everything under the sun, right? So then it ties back into the maladaptive energy that we need to be medicated, we need some kind of therapy, we need to be under psycho care, okay? So they did all this energy under Cancer. I'm just telling you the energies and the frequencies of the universe, right? So then the other ass kicker, as I went back, something said, wait a minute, Erykah Badu. So when I went to Erykah Badu and I looked at her birth date, I said, February 26th. So for some reason, I was looking up Elijah Muhammad. It wasn't Elijah Muhammad that was the interest. It was Wallace Ford Muhammad. I said, who in the hell is Wallace Ford Muhammad? So apparently he came out of the son of God of the moon and the stars, jumped onto this universe into Detroit, and he created a whole nation of Islam of energies, and they don't know where in the fuck he then came from. Then he went fucking missing. But then what we do understand that he was a criminal, he was an imposter, he did identity theft. I said, damn, he looked like he don't look Middle Eastern to me. He looked more on the Pakistani and Indian side of the game, like he's a hybrid. So then they saying all of this, and I'm like, well, who in the fuck is this? So then they say he went a missing. Then Elijah Muhammad took his place. Then I went back to Malcolm X, and I compared Malcolm X to Wallace Ford. I said they have a similar background, and why is it everything dealing with the Nation of Islam is always connected to a crime wave, right? So then I looked again and I said, when are people going to talk about Malcolm Little previous family or his children that he had, or I don't know, before or after, and some of the kids that's running around Nation of Islam that's connected to him, because they gave us a hybrid family, but when are they going to talk about that, right? And some of you will be like, that's not true. Bullshit. So then I started looking at Wallace Ford Muhammad. I said, hold on, his birthday is February 26th, like Erykah Badu. Then I started thinking to myself, I said, what the fuck is Erykah Badu connected to? Is her daddy in the Nation of Islam or in one of the cults? What the fuck is going on? Wait a minute, what's happening here? So I'm in confusion in the spiritual realm, because now I'm calling Cap. Because then now I'm going to go back to Afeni Badu Muhammad. They're all in it. We don't know what's going on. We don't know if that's AI. We don't know that they didn't brainwash that girl. We don't know if she's just whatever. It's just like that energy with that Carmelo Anthony, right? So as we keep going, then we have to get into the spiritual realm, because there's an energy going on, right? Here's the energy. I had to go back to ICE. When I went back to ICE and did some research and talked to some people and inside people, follow the money. They told us that the Mexicans were stealing our jobs. Trump got in the universal soul of the ethers and the astral plane and said, dear Negroes, I'm here on my platform with my pendant and bust that everybody in the White House going to wear, not the American flag, because the American flag has crashed. The Mexicans stealing your jobs. Then I was like, what? Then when ICE was going on, I was like, damn, it's hella Mexicans here. Damn. Sure did, man. Loosen up some energy. Then I thought about something. I've never went out a job. I've never been without a job living around Mexicans. And I've never been without a job around Chinese. You may have to move a little bit differently, but I've never been without my coins. However, we need to look at some things, and as Black people, we need a class action lawsuit. Here's why. They lied to us. They used a Jewish man and Chinese people to, I'm going to say, repeal or reverse affirmative action that we never used. DEI never existed. It existed during the pandemic. I'm going to put that to the side, but let's talk affirmative action. Do you understand they, the Indians, paid for, invested to demote, remove black culture from Harvard and Ivy League schools? So they can come in and monopolize the system? And the Chinese got a good ass kicking like the hybrid Indians who went against the native blacks, the indigenous, the aboriginal people. The white people came, we're going to promise you land. Just give us them. Go against them. Get in their nature. Well, the Chinese then got their ass whooped, right? So anyway, they used them to play the game talking about affirmative action was discriminatory. We had nothing to do with it. The Mexicans had nothing to do with it. When you look at the stats, you will see who in the hell goes to Harvard. And then they became haters, maladaptive, against the white folks who had energies there, whatever, eliteness, and said, fuck them too. Right? Let's talk the spell work. They came in behind all of that, sponsored, paid within the frequencies to recreate the curriculum. They're going to these educational sources and going to Ivy League schools doing freaking what I call matrix restructuring of the educational system. Basically, they're dumbing it down. Right now, there's a focus group at the University of Pennsylvania where they have Indians who don't know English, don't know America, don't know the structure of America, and don't understand the structure of the educational frequencies in America on this board, on this focus group. A lot of them don't have any understanding, and they are hired to be in the position, and because they don't understand American culture, they will partner with American people. And white people think they are so cultural and worldly. They'll love to give information, but not understanding that these cultured of people are picking their fucking brains. So when you look at the restructuring of the job market, it's not the Mexicans, it's not the Chinese. You will soon to see it is the Indians. They are in high positions and they are in lower positions. They need to fire all of them and restructure and really sit there and test, do they know the job? Because they have demoted white people, black people, and they're harassing and that's what this ICE shit is for. And they are kicking out the Mexicans, and the Chinese are making it by their chinny chin chin. Then they want to restructure, bring in more third world people to sit on top of the American culture. Oh, but I'm maladaptive, so don't listen to nothing I'm saying. Because they want to pretend like this is not happening. They need to terminate all them people in customer service from New Delhi, Bangladesh. There need to be a federal watchdog. Oh, I forgot. They got rid of all of the American people in the federal government to replace them with themselves. So if you complain about them, all they're going to do is throw it out. Because what they're saying, when they froze the DOJ and all of those federal racism, discrimination accusations, they're trying to say those aren't true. You're just maladaptive. When you're complaining on the job and saying racial discrimination, harassment, retaliation, you're maladaptive. So everything that was is going to get thrown out because it's not true. See, that Epstein shit, you're just being maladaptive. That didn't happen. Meanwhile, Kash Patel and Trump's son spoke on people should be getting arrested and investigated. So are they going to let down, what's her name, Giselle or whatever, who was with Epstein? Are they going to let her out of jail? Because the real energy is that they don't want to admit that the whole modeling industry was a whole muling and trafficking game. Then you wonder why Tyra Banks and Naomi Campbell and some of these other people are caught the fuck up. All the headshots and modeling pics, it was just a swap meet. I want that one, want that one, want that one, want that one, which include children. I told you Law and Order told it. Kim Kardashian is the epitome of what the fuck was going on in the modeling industry. And I'll let you think about that one for a moment. These niggas are still in jail. When I seen Oprah, fake Oprah, Gail, not Gail, with Kris Jenner, whatever, Kardashian, whatever you want to call her last name, and she's standing in front of them, I said, they still in jail. They don't fuck around with her. She's a gatekeeper for something, and she's a Scorpio. That's the thing, but that's the team. That's the team. But remember I said they flipped the third house. I did not tell y'all that. I told y'all that. They flipped the third house to the top and flipped the first house on the bottom. You can't ever flip the third house. I mean the second house. You can't ever flip us. Right? Because the second house is the total gatekeepers. But just to say all of that, so as we're looking in the energies, right? They played games with us with the educational system. They're restructuring education. They're restructuring the whole world. They're in positions that they shouldn't be in. They're cheating in education. They're imposters. They're stealing. They're muling. They're thieving. That's a lawsuit. They intentionally causing harm in the black community. They attacked us. They removed our monies. They're firing us. Bribery, coercion, organ harvesting, prostitution, all the above. This is what's happening because we're going to talk about them in their shenanigans. Taking over Disneyland, male escorting going on with them. Come on now. Just J.D. Vance was in fucking Disneyland and a whole bunch of shit going on. They're opening up amusement parks. They when you go to certain amusement parks, there it is. Contaminating the world. No, that's why they're not wearing pendants of America anymore. This is, in the black community, this is a total lawsuit. Black women need to sue black men. Black women need to sue the Indians. In a minute, the Muslims are going to get sued if they cut up anymore. Black women need to sue the Nation of Islam. Black people need to sue everybody. Class action. Because this is Holocaust and considered a crime against humanity. You think I'm crazy? Whatever. Start looking it up. That damn COVID Asian hate bill, that Asian hate law need to be repealed. They snuck it in during COVID and told a lie and put the Chinese people in front of it. We've been living around Chinese people for fucking forever. What Asian hate? And these people been living in our communities and our ancestors took care of them. Okay? That's bullshit. How in the hell is it hate? Is it Asian hate and they living in the Delta and different places around black folks? projects and all. I'm not about to play with this new energy. How about that whole story about them coming to America to build the railroad tracks is fake as fuck? How about it's been all along in front of our faces that it was black people who built the railroad tracks? They brought the Japanese and Chinese here to work as slaves, especially up in the big house. Why are they not talking about in the big house there wasn't only black people but Chinese or the Asian people? Why are they not talking about that there was a difference between the house slaves and the plantation slaves, if they want to be real about it? And why are they not saying the plantation slaves were a lot of the black people outside and a lot of the Asians on the inside? How come when in pictures you never see Asians working on the railroads? You always see black people working on the railroads, right? For real. You didn't want to ask that question? Through history and history books, they just told us that they were on the railroad tracks, but somehow they always showed a black person there. Where do you think a lot of these spiritual hymns and kind of raps come from? Is from that energy. And a lot of even the chain gangs that was in prison was working the railroad tracks. What the fuck? I'm not saying what it is, what it ain't. But what it ain't is what it is. We don't want to talk about that part, right? That's why I was saying to you, hey, in so many words in that movie Sinners, they were saying that the Chinese people were fucking informants. And then when shit get bad, they will cut their neck. Do you understand what's going on? Okay, let's talk more. Religion. They fucked with our religion. These Indians are taking over the spiritual world. They're owning botanicas. They're owning voodoo stores. They're stepping on your feet. A spiritual constituents, and I've heard this situation before, right? They were telling, and no disrespect, they were telling me that the order of the mystic healer. So the mystic healer I've heard, I think is Rafakai Simone. I said, oh yeah, I've heard about her in Louisiana. And everybody's talking about, but a person that know her was telling me the deal because she borrowed money from her. Okay? And they were talking about, and I said, but I thought she was third world. But okay, let's put it to the side, a black woman. She went connected, they said married allegedly to a South African. They said that South African tore her business down. And basically start connecting with the Indians. They saying right now she's having a hard time. And they said she used to get people from all around. And I said, famine. So then that taps back into yoga, conscious community, IFA. That shit was all paid for. Them restructuring the church. What's his name? Oh, is it they were talking about how Billy Porter and Big Frida are working together to do some kind of gospel shit. No, that's blasphemy. That is considered ballroom gospel. That's ballroom gospel. That's somebody investing again in the downfall of black people, listening to homosexual frequencies. And some of you would say, it's always been homosexual frequencies. Nah. It's more than ever. See, there's an issue going on in church. See, when I was listening to B. Simone and her whole testimony, I realized that was not a testimony. That's that weird shit of being maladaptive. Basically, you have Indians and some Middle Easterns coming in, analyzing black people, white people. But what is very interesting about it all is they're pointing out that black people act like victims. No, we are victimized. And trying to say you being victimized is not true. Now, B. Simone, I've heard about all the energies, but my whole energy is that I didn't like what she was saying. I went back and listened to it, and that's when I realized that she is sponsored by fast fashion, and Bloomingdale's sell fast fashion too. So that told me she's being represented and told to victimize herself. When you are sitting in the word of the Spirit, you understand the King of Kings, the God of God, the Lord of Lords, and Christ of Christ. So the bottom line is that she shouldn't be talking like that. She should be saying, hey, I went through some things. I had to go to the Spirit. I was victimized. I was a victim, but now I have victory. You see what I mean? That's what she should say. I'm living in victory. This is who I am. I am made brand new. The Lord did this. The Lord did that. The Lord supported me. I had to get away from those false prophets. The industry, This is my testimony. And now I'm made brand new. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. That's what she's supposed to be doing. But she's getting on a podcast acting like a victim and saying, now I gotta get back with you niggas. Bullshit. That's a paid woman. And all these people doing all these podcasts, all these Big Fridas and Billy Porters and all of that shit, the conscious, at the end of the day, they all going to crash. They even fucking around with the art world. They have y'all believing that you're going to be in a fucking wasteland. What they have done with the church, they have said, if you have any faith, you are maladaptive. You're not living in reality. They just told us that we cannot have faith. You got to believe in man, because that's reality. Man is doing practical work that's being backed up by rituals. Stop playing in our fucking faces. And you guys out here fucking around with religion, and you sat up and kicked out the Mexicans and shit so you could run the botanicas. You didn't see that coming, huh? Because the Mexican people own a lot of the botanicas and spiritual energies that merge together with black people practicing certain religions and shit like that. So they bamboozled us and told us that it was the Mexicans that have our jobs. It isn't. It's them. Remember I told you at the Walmart call center in Laguna Niguel, there's a whole call center. Fire all of them. If it's still there, fire all of them. Because they're college students, they're mothers, they're fathers who need jobs. Outsourcing. Fucking up the damn fashion world. When you got people right here in America who could do fashion. Fucking up the educational system. Trying to miseducate. You have, who also need to be sued is the HBCUs. What is this story here? Because we're going to start looking at some shit. What's that story? Remember when Mandy or Mindy, what is that with her brother? Here it is. When he pretended to be black and went to Harvard and had the audacity to write a book called Almost Black and making fun of black people, sue them. They need to be sued. Where in the heck is Benjamin Crump? Why didn't he sue them? Why are we not doing a class action? We should put a stipulation to all HBCUs to do not accept people like this. They need to be scrutinized because they keep stealing our identity. I seen some shit where this Indian woman flew from India, living with somebody to come steal in America at Target, and then kept apologizing, talking about she wants to go home. So not only are they muling from India, but they over here stealing. So here's my question. Then when that whole boosting episode, that insurance scam happened, after the pandemic or whatever, what was that? Okay, so let me go back, because now I'm going to go back to this lady in Louisiana, who was in Louisiana. Her third world husband stole her energy. I do not recommend, for me, I'm just saying, maybe black women, maybe you shouldn't be marrying third world men, because they have an issue with your work. Men have an issue with your work. I seen a situation where a man knocked down his woman's altar. He third world. I'm hearing, what's his name? That Charles, what's his name? Charleston White. He talking about he wants to have spirit. He wants to understand. I'm just paraphrasing. Understand spirit. You a man. You don't have a womb. You will never understand what spirit is, and you don't carry the spirit. That's why they have all these other cultures pretending to be women, because they want the spirit so bad. That's why I'm saying Big Frida and Billy Porter? They're pretending to be women and to be feminine to feel the spirit. If you don't have a womb and you don't carry the spirit, you will never have that. You can learn, but you can't ever have it naturally. That is why up in these churches, they have homosexual church. And the gorilla church and the ballroom church connects and all that. When you have fucking homosexuals coming to church in high heels and a mother hat trying to outdo the mother, that's a fucking problem. When they out there being sanctified, falling the fuck out, and you got to pick their asses up the ground, kick them up out that church. Because they playing with the spirit. They over here under gospel orgies. Okay? They under gospel orgies, and they trying to bring back that old shit back from the 80s. And that was a different gospel. And I've been to a gospel orgy, but by mistake with my mother, and she got the hell up out of there. She dropped off her pound cake and said, let's go. It's so much going on in the universe, but you guys are going to see. Do you understand your Ifa tools are coming from certain energies? Do you understand the Koreans, the Chinese? Matter of fact, some of your idols are made in China. It's not even made in Mexico. It's made in China. Everything is in confusion, but you're not seeing the sponsor. And you guys are like, dang, she talks about white people. Yeah, because you're going to understand the evolution. I'm going to be real with you. I wouldn't trip as hard if a person came from the Middle East and owned a dang spiritual store. You know I wouldn't trip, because that's a different type of frequency. But the games that they played is that they made the Middle East and Asia, but the Middle East was never in Asia. It was always in Africa, and it went all the way up to Pakistan, into Italy, into Spain, into Greece. They changed it again. Now the Middle East is Asia. Turkey is Asia. No, it's not. Israel was part of Africa. But here's another thing where they played a lot of games. Reparations. They don't want to tell you that they gave your damn reparations, black people, to the Indians and said they were Afro-Americans. They put them in Africa. They put them on the Caribbean islands, brought them here to America, had them marry into people, and then paid them for their services. You guys better dig deep and fall into South Africa and understand who they are. Follow them. Follow them in the Congo. Follow how they steal and then make money. Follow how in San Francisco they got caught the fuck up. And them black guys been over there selling dope for them, allegedly. And they deported the Mexicans, the Latinos, and then put the black kids in jail. Allegedly. We have a whole lawsuit happening here. You want to know the real reason why they're getting rid of Black history? Because they're putting you under psychological warfare so you don't remember that these motherfuckers then sat up and damaged the Black community and been damaging the Black community and been harming the Black community. They don't want it to come up that the Indians was part of the slave and the Holocaust. They don't want us. They don't want to dig it up, but what they did do was study the Civil War, and they're moving in it through the works, through their own spell work. How you going to trust people who cremate bodies and put the cremation on their bodies and then eat and smoke the dead people? Have you guys, so that type of behavior, you got to ask questions in history, because there's something that they're hiding. Are they hiding the real energy of genocide and lynching? Because when you tap back into Africa and you start to go around in Africa and see certain energies, did white people learn lynching from the Africans? Have y'all seen and research? See, this is my 5th honorary degree and my citations for my PhD. Have y'all really studied the inhumane energy within these villages in Africa and how they will string people up and burn, kill, murder, mayhem, and it's the same energy? How do you know some of those lynchings didn't happen in Africa or on the Caribbean islands and it was really their own? Because I've seen some of those pics of our own lynching. Have you been looking at the Neo-Africans as of lately? I already know how the Mexicans get down and Latinos get down. I know how they get down in their works. You talking about Paulo in a pot? Please. And those are the energies They have kicked out the other energies and brought those energies into America and gave them asylum. Remember I said, I'm like, who are these type of people? They didn't get rid of them. They're making you think they're getting rid of them. We're under danger. You talking about somebody's Crips and Bloods and gang members, what you gonna do when you start getting machete like fucks and you don't know where it's coming from and your arm getting chopped off and a motherfucker smoking it? What you gonna do with that? You keep talking about cartel. These are all different cultures, religions coming in, bringing in a frequency. And they just disarmed the American blacks with this bullshit. Bitch, I'm Indian. And now they want to go and take over the botanicas and all of these special type of candle stores and spiritual stores. I was just talking to someone, we were talking about the Indian incense. She said, do you know how much money them Indians make from selling incense? I said, I used to make incense. I used to make loose incense and sell it. I did. I used to sell it on my website and stuff like that. I said, black people better get it back into, because she was talking about Middle Eastern incense and how the Indians took over that industry from them. And then I started thinking, I said, listen, come on, black people. I may not fuck around with their shit and their philosophies, but I need to study what's up with Middle Easterns or the whole Islamic energy. Because we've been living around these people for a minute. And they like wealth, prosperity, and they make money off of black people. So what the fuck is really going on? Because I believe they understand American blacks, but they do have an opinion. Because they feel that they don't understand why we're not successful, and they are. Because you guys are getting supplemented on our backs, on our ancestors' backs. How in the hell do they come in on our land with our ancestors and reconstruct the world? Reconstruct religion? Do you know how dumb that is? That means we're stupid. No, I want a lawsuit. I want it reevaluated. Who in the fuck does the checks and balances for the federal government? And who is hired? Jobs, racial discrimination, harassment, retaliation, persuasion, manipulation, crimes against humanity, Holocaust, devouring, neutralizing a community, putting up different extremists, conscious community to bring us down, psychological warfare, trying to intimidate us, malpractice suits, repeals. HIPAA laws were broken. We have to follow the money, and we're just looking at the group of people. We have to follow who in the fuck is doing all of this. And it is a personal attack. It's personal. And you're trying to play psychological games. Is it coming from Germany, Britain? Who? Are they mustering up the old psychologists of Germany who did all these tests? Where? What's happening? Right? And that is why the spirit is so real and so true. They out here telling us that Beyonce got robbed in Atlanta. I said, that sounds like an insurance scam, or she about to put out an album. I'm not about to play with that. I'm not about to play with that. The concert was horrible anyway. Why? We should be understanding, why are law professors going to Philadelphia for a conference to restructure and understand and how to teach the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment. And what people don't understand, the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendment has nothing to do with us. We were not the slaves. There were certain people coming in. You got the Irish, you got the Chinese, you got the Slavics. And who were they calling Africans? If I'm saying, hey, let's reevaluate the reparations, then you're wondering why they own hotels, why they invest in, why they own medical centers, why they have a certain wealth, why they bringing over their people. They would talk about in Canada, there's certain Indians that we talk about nigga this and nigga that. And this is above y'all pay grade. And some of you are like, but I am African, but they're not talking to you. That's why they gave you reparations. They have these conscious motherfuckers out here not telling you the truth. That your money has already been disbursed. We should be fighting to get our land and monies and inheritance back from the hybrids they gave it to. We should be fighting and say, you know what? Mexico should be part of America because that's where our people came in. That's where they were living. That's where they came from. South America, Central America, Mexico. And you know that's not his true name, and the original people are dead. That's why I said the whole Egyptian story of the pharaohs and the queens, and when they died, they bury everybody with them. No, that sounds like them burying people. I'm finding now, talk about burying people, that mystic camp, that's strange because there's some other camp that they're talking about that's a black camp that was just not that far from it, that was all black. And I think the camp is called Bendine? Let me see here. Bendanine? A bandana? There was a black camp that wasn't that far away, and those kids got home safely. They're alleging that it was a whole bunch of Ukrainians allegedly at this camp, the camp that seemed to got washed away. But when you see them pull the items out of the cabin, none of it is wet. It's dried. I said, wait a minute, what? I told you that shit looked weird in Texas. Now there's a whole bunch of floods everywhere. Rumor of war, rumors. They playing in our faces. Did you see the energies of Glenn Turman, that he finally got the Hollywood Walk of Fame? I said, oh, till I seen everybody, I said, ooh, look at all them demons. And Kim Fields, you could hear the warpness in her throat when she was talking. Then the first thing that popped in my head about him, I said, well, damn, I remember when the industry was talking about when he slept with Aretha Franklin's husband. And I know that's rude as fuck. Then I know him from JD, was it JD's Revenge and Cooley High? I'm just being rude. While we out here tripping, they out here having a Jewish country club. Have y'all seen them Jewish country clubs? They the shit. Hell, I'm going to invite myself to one. Out here, they talking about Morgan Freeman is dead, allegedly. Right? See the illusion? They out here having gay children books called Gay BC. Pride is love. Busy pride. Bye-bye binary. This what we doing. This what we worried about, right? TOTO. They still haven't even cleaned up Los Angeles waters and Palisades. It's soot and shit rising up. Have y'all been seeing how they didn't found a whole bunch of cocaine and shit in the ocean, and it's uprooting itself and floating in the water? Have y'all heard about that? Yeah. Those are just distractions. But we need to talk about really how they're using religion and embedding themselves in religion, our culture, third world culture, pushing shit, dismantling Black history, then saying we're tripping, saying that so what they want to do is pretend none of that happened because they don't want us to get riled up. So they're trying to use psychology to keep us in line. I told you that's what that whole Karen shit was about, right? Right? They playing in our faces all the time. Employment law. Like people really not harassing people. Fucking with our education. Fucking with our money. Demoting people. Kicking people out from work. Firing, terminating, replacing them with themselves. They trying to have the block all just hot. I was peeping over there in Philadelphia how you guys had the purge happen last week, and they shut down the whole 911 system for some hours, to give you room for mayhem. But then you guys have a public official that's a senator that's an Indian from Los Angeles, and I said he kind of looked like J.D. Vance's wife. I said, women, what is with California? Do you know it's more Indians in California, especially Southern California, than it is with Asians and Chinese and shit? I'm talking about Chinese. I'm not. And they all down here. I said, is there something they need to tell us? You talking about Mexicans? That's a sleeper cell. Listen, in the Bay Area is a sleeper cell, but in Southern California is a sleeper cell. Atlanta, you just dead. They are playing in your face so much that they have the audacity to call Shamar a celebrity, a man that's more crooked than the crooked street. The fuck? He's special needs with a fucking payee. They playing in our faces. But I gotta put it together because I'm maladaptive. I'm too much in my emotions for no reason. It's all in a hallucination. Okay, I'm hallucinating that I don't see these people and they are not racial discrimination. They don't harass. So you telling me that in hotels they don't cut the fuck up and they don't bop people? Got you. It's funny and it's kind of almost the same, but this is worse than ever because they had the Korean issue and all of this issue. It's just worse than ever. I was looking at that shit with Carnival and what? Why you let her in? What? Go away. Go away. Go away. What do you want? I kept you out. So they had that energy with Carnival. I guess you niggas done paid all your money and they done got rich off of you, so they don't want no more of your fucking fans. Now all of a sudden they ghetto. No, they not. That's what they do. They make money off of black people and then say it's too ghetto, and then because they didn't make their money. That's all they do is use black people to make money. Right? That's it. That's all that's going on with Carnival. They didn't make their money and they didn't got enough of your niggas. Has nothing to do with no EBT and ghetto. Them white people was loving that shit. It was bringing their life back. They was advertising it. You sitting on Virgins and you looking at Carnival. They made their money. So stop. Right? Your council member in Philadelphia, does he really help the black community? That's my question. Yeah, here it is. The senator, Pennsylvania State Senator, Nickel Savell. He's a millennial. Did y'all know in Philadelphia there's a whole Indian community? Then you're wondering why that trash happened? Where are the Amish at? Because I think they also got rid of the Mexicans because now they're going to replace the Mexicans with the Amish. No, they're going to replace the Mexicans with the Amish. Right? There's a cold game and a cold piece of spell work. We had our own people help out with our demise and practicing things of not that should not be part of the land. Period. Then you wonder why that plantation was burnt the fuck down. You better connect it. Everybody out here talking about Annabelle killing niggas. You damn right, because Annabelle's a damn Raggedy Ann slave. Do you understand a lot of these oddities are connected to the Holocaust and our ancestors? I told you Annabelle is a trip. Better leave Annabelle alone. Annabelle been cutting up, bringing her to those racist ass places. Sundown towns. She's ignited. You guys better start reversing on these people that's making you have famine. They're doing famine work on our pockets. I told you. They took the third house, made it the first house, put the first house on the bottom. That's what they did do. Famine. Got all in your religion. Famine. Took your jobs. Famine. Told you it's the Mexicans. Famine. Mexicans make money. Chinese make money. Middle Easterns make money. And they'll make money off of you. They like their money. Indians are different. Niggas, you act poor. Impoverished in poverty. That's what I was talking about. Y'all should have never got on social media showing your business. Women, you should have never, ever, ever went to a man that was homosexual doing work. I'm not being discriminatory or racist. I'm looking at it for what it is because they're trying to be feminine. They're stealing from you. They're siphoning from you. I didn't say a gay man. I said homosexual and eunuchs. You guys are practicing eunuch religions, eunuchs, and homosexual religions. Some people, but Christianity, you didn't read it right. Because through the word, it was given warning. But some of y'all being at those sex orgies use the word to bend it over and think the Holy Spirit is going to enter into the asshole. I didn't say the Holy Ghost, I said the Holy Spirit. Because the Holy Spirit is of a fleshly nature. Make your own incense. Invest in a coffee grinder. Shit. Anyway. I had to give you some energies, in the action word, maladaptive, of the day. And give you various scenarios of frequencies. You know what? Let me say this. These guerrilla churches, aka prison churches, aka ballroom churches, aka homosexual churches, ain't shit. Because they should be talking about this in real and true. What type of gospel songs are y'all making? What type of preaching are you doing? What type of testimonial are you doing? Y'all out here getting narrative testimonies where they telling you your testimony. That's why I brought up B. Simone. She was supposed to be a testimony, and she was a total not testimony. She was too busy disrespecting you. That's why Glorilla is blasphemy. They're putting these people in front of you to devour you and to create an agenda and to create stereotypes. Because that's what they see, that's what they know, that's what they're practicing. And then you go to them to buy your candles. Don't even know that they own it. Or then sat up and bought out the damn candle stores. I remember seeing this Indian woman stealing Halloween candy from a person's porch to go sell up in her grocery store or in her liquor store. You better understand. They want to talk about us? You better start talking back and looking at shit. If these people are making money off of us, coming in small business and education, you better start protesting. You better start peeping. You black people better put our money together and start to look at these colleges and start doing a class action. How do we put it together? Who do I need to call? Shit. Anyway, this is Wayward Renegade Witches Blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.